Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BC Spark Radio's first live broadcast of the new school year. My name is Drake, and I'm your host for today. But before we get started, I want to take a moment to remember all the people we lost on this day 18 years ago. Our thoughts and prayers are with all those families and all those who have been affected by the crisis of 9/11. We here at BC Voice will never forget. With all that being said, let's begin our broadcast tonight with our first segment, which is the summer movie recap, where Ayinde will be discussing the winners and losers of the 2019 summer movie season, as well as talking about where to go from here.
Good evening, Bridgewater. My name is Ayinde, and I'm going to be going through the summer movies winners and losers of 2019. The summer movie season has been a bit down this year, but it doesn't mean that there aren't any there aren't any bright lights that happened throughout the summer. In fact, we got a lot to talk about, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. Let's just go ahead and get to these winners. One of the winners, you can't have the summer movie season and not talk about Disney. Disney had a banner year this year. Four of the top five highest grossing worldwide releases this year belong to Disney, and all four of them came out three of the four of them actually came out during the summer. One of them we'll get into a little bit more with Avengers Endgame. There's a lot to talk about with that, but they also had Toy Story 4, which premiered in June, and then The Lion King, which came out in July. The fourth one in that top four is Captain Marvel, which came out in March. Speaking of The Lion King, this is insane how even though the critics were railing this movie, were saying that this is just nothing more than just a deep fake ish, like sort of uncanny valley like adaptation of a beloved Disney property. It's still worldwide grosses has already passed the first Avengers movie, and it is neck and neck with the sixth of all time, which is Jurassic World at 1.67 billion. I think Lion King is sitting at 1.62 billion. So it's astounding that even with all the people saying that this movie isn't all that great, that it's still making a lot of money, proving once again that Disney knows what they're doing. Another case in point, Aladdin. Who would have thought that movie was going to be $1 billion movie? I know I didn't, but guess what? Just around the same time, Spider-Man: Far From Home, which is another film we're going to get into later, Aladdin broke $1 billion. And speaking of Spider-Man: Far From Home, another one of the winners was Sony. Again, Spider-Man: Far From Home was fantastic. And financially, it's the only Spider-Man film actually to reach the $1 billion mark. The closest Spider-Man movie was Spider-Man 3 at 890 million worldwide, and Spider-Man: Far From Home beat that by about 110, which is amazing. And Sony's superhero property is the only thing that succeeded. Quentin Tarantino's project, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think is one of the more underrated films of the summer, opened at a Tarantino best at 41 million, and it's on its way to grossing around 150, 160 million dollars, maybe even 200 million. Another big winner is John Wick Chapter 3. Everybody loved John Wick, and it was insane that the movie has made $300 million when neither John Wick Chapters 1 or 2 were able to make that $300 million mark. Hell, neither of them made the $200 million mark, and Chapter 3 made it 300. And even more surprising is that its $56.8 million debut dethroned Avengers Endgame for the top spot. So it's astounding how much staying power John Wick has, and with Lionsgate confirming that the fourth one's on the way, I don't think we're going to be seeing where this is going to be the last time that we're going to see John Wick. However, the story of the summer, the only story of the summer that really matters, is the success of Avengers Endgame. Everyone knew this movie was going to be successful, but nobody saw this coming. Shattered the opening weekend record at $357 million. It is the only movie in history to make $300 million in its opening weekend. It is also the only film in history to make $1 billion in its opening weekend. It made $1.12 billion in its opening weekend. And then it was the fastest to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and $600 million domestically, and being the fastest to $2 billion worldwide at around 15 days. And speaking of all the records that Avengers Endgame broke, I could go on for days. There was only one that really matters, and on July 21st of this year, we have a new king, with Avengers Endgame becoming the highest grossing film of all time, unseating James Cameron's Avatar after 89 days of release at $2.796 billion, beating out Avatar's $2.788 billion. No one thought it was possible, but all of the Avengers assembled and to become the highest grossing movie of all time. Now the question is, what can unseat it? And to be honest, don't think there is a lot. Because while there was a lot of bright spots with, Endgame, Disney movies, there were some losers. A big loser was Fox. After the Fox acquisition, Disney still had to distribute all of their Fox properties, which included Stuber and X-Men Dark Phoenix, which has only made $65 million in its lifetime gross after debuting in June. That is very low. And its $32 million opening weekend was the single worst opening weekend of all of the X-Men movies, even worse than X-Men Apocalypse, which ended at around like $50 million. Another poor spot was Men in Black International, sort of like a soft reboot of the Men in Black franchise, which even though it won the weekend, is open at a measly $30 million. It's as of today is only made $79.7 million. That's really sad, guys. I don't think $79 million sounds like it's a lot, but when you think of the last Men in Black movie made around $200 million, just a little bit shy of $200 million, and with an opening weekend of about 55. That tells you just how little staying power the Men in Black franchise actually had. And speaking of other franchises that didn't have staying power, Godzilla King of the Monsters. It wasn't a flop necessarily, but its debut was leagues below studio expectations, and it's where it's ended right now. Yeah, it broke even. But even then, it's still considered a disappointment. So is Detective Pikachu, even though Detective Pikachu was actually very well loved. Indie comedies also had a really bad year. Long Shot, Booksmart, Late Night. All these films massively got all this critical acclaim, but at the end of the day, didn't really produce the numbers to really support those claims. But where do we go from here? I mean, we just had It Chapter 2 debut at $91 million, which is a far cry from the 123 that the first one made, but I mean, it's still a jolt. There's still a jolt this year made after being down 9% during the summer. But then also we got October, which is going to see the release of Joker, which is right now poised at sitting at a $90 million opening weekend, which is fantastic for Joker. It's an award-winning film. Venice, they won the top award at the Venice Film Festival, which we will be discussing about. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show, so stick around. But you also have Frozen 2 and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And so who knows what's going to happen? I think that now we're in a slump in this season where people don't want to go to the movies that much. But with the revitalization of Avengers Endgame and just how great that performance was, I think a lot of films need to take note of how they marketed their films, and maybe we're seeing a little bit of that with The Rise of Skywalker. We're seeing a little bit of that with Frozen 2, and obviously we're seeing a lot of praise from Joker. Maybe even Terminator can turn in a pretty big performance. But that is all that I have for you today. I know I threw a lot of numbers at you and I threw a lot of information at you, but I'm talking about things that I love. That's what I do here. And thank you. And I will see you guys in a little bit.
All right, and that was Ayinde with the summer movie recap, trying to make sure you guys have your popcorn ready for the next couple weeks of movies. And up next, we have our BC Sports segment with Brandon and Jacob, who are going to review the in-season Bridgewater College sports teams, along with analyze each performance they've already have and preview the future of those teams.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the BC Sports segment of the radio. My name is Brandon, and joining me is Jacob.
How's it going?
We're here to discuss Bridgewater Sports, the in-season teams, and how they're doing, and just kind of our own take on the teams.
And one thing we're going to start off with is volleyball. They're red hot, Brandon. They're hard to stop. They're 7-0. They're playing right now at Shenandoah, and they play Mary Baldwin this Friday the 13th at 6 p.m. in Nininger. So make sure to be there.
Yeah, they just started their game now, and they're looking like a championship team this year.
Yeah, I looked at the schedule, Brandon. I don't see anybody stopping them this year. Period.
Their game on Friday against Mary Baldwin this week should be an absolute slaughterfest.
Yes.
I don't even know if they've given up in a set the whole year.
I don't think they have.
The games I've seen at least, they haven't given up a set.
But if we move on to men's soccer and we just look at men's soccer, they're two opposite ends of the spectrum. One started out the year perfectly. They won 7 in a row. That's volleyball, and they're right where you want to be for a college program. Now, if you look at men's soccer, they're 1-4. You can look at this one of two ways: a bad start to a season or a way to build character. And once a team faces adversity, this is just another way for the team to move forward. Right now, they're 1-4. They're playing right now. They're winning in the second half. It's 1-0 against Mary Baldwin. They're playing well. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, 1-4. What would you do as a coach, or just your thoughts going into the season, and then knowing the first 5 games you lost 4 of them?
Well, going into the season, they had a great year last year. They made it to the ODAT championship. The best season actually up to date was last year. So coming into the season, they had a lot of expectations, and for them to come out and be 1-4 and look as sluggish as they are, they're on a 2-game losing streak now. It's not a good morale booster, especially coming out here with all these expectations, dropping all these games. They're up to date, but Mary Baldwin isn't the best team, and now they're tied actually 1-1.
This just in, Mary Baldwin tied the game 1-1 in the second half.
There's 11 minutes left in the second half, so we'll see probably in overtime, honestly.
Yeah, that's what we're looking forward to. So if you want to tune into that, click the video button on the men's soccer schedule. Yeah.
But I still believe in men's soccer because they had a good team last year, and I still think that they can rally together, but they got to get that momentum going, and a win right now today is crucial.
But if you look at this right now, Brandon, if you look at their schedule, they've played William Peace. They lost 2-1. All right, that's not a bad loss. But then if you look at York at St. Mary's versus Salisbury at St. Mary's College in Maryland, they lost 3-0, 4-1, and 4-1. I mean, you can't give up goals like that. Period. There's no way you're going to make a positive program that way.
I think we're moving on to women's soccer. And the thing I've seen about the women's soccer team is their goalie is good.
Yes.
Women's soccer has a good goalie, good defensive strategy, but they can't seem to finish on the attacks. And that's hurting women's soccer right now. I think they're 2-3 right now.
Yes.
They look decent. The coach says he thinks that they're improving, and they are. They won their last game against Mary Washington, and this upcoming Tuesday they're playing Averett.
Actually, I didn't get to play Tuesday. They're going to be playing Saturday, the 14th at North Carolina Wesleyan. They were supposed to play yesterday on Tuesday the 10th.
Postponed game.
First 5 games of the season is a nice gauge, no matter what sport it is. And I don't think 2-3 is a bad record. I think you got to look at it as where do we go from here? Every single one of their games has been by 2 goals or less. So they're putting up a fight. And if you look at this, versus Rowan and at Mary Washington, both of those games were double overtime games. So they're fighting for a long time for these wins. It's just being able to pull out those big wins. And you're right, like you said, they have the keeper to do it. I just think they got to get on the attacking third here and move the ball into the goal.
The difference between the men's and women's soccer team is the men's team looks aggressive. When they play, they'll go at it hard and they go for it. It doesn't always pay off for them, and sometimes that strategy leaves their defense kind of open in the back, and so the other team can quickly switch the field off a turnover and then get goals, and which is why they lost the last 2 games 4-1.
A big problem with them is through balls and having to deal with the through ball coming through the backside of their defense. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to stop that, and hopefully they can do that looking forward to this game Saturday. Once again, tune in. It'll be at 3 p.m.
And then the women's team has a great defense, but they have a tough time on the offensive side. Their forwards aren't getting it done up front.
Now we're going to move on to field hockey. And like we said, the start to the season for any sport is very important. And if we're looking at field hockey, sadly, field hockey has started out the year 0-4. Now, what are your thoughts on that right away? What's initial thoughts, shock factor, 0-4, where would you go from there?
I mean, as a former athlete myself, 0-4, you have no morale, you know. At 0-4, you kind of almost don't care anymore about the way you finish because you know you're not going to get the results you want. I think that this team still has potential, but it's hard to come back from an 0-4 morale boost.
Well, the way you got to look at it, Brandon, is they don't have a conference opponent until October, period. So the way I look at it is from August to the end of September, build your team, build a culture, build chemistry. Every single one of their games, they've held their opponent to under 3 goals. That's not bad.
No?
It's not bad, period. But just like women's soccer, they got to find a way to finish.
What is bad, though, is they've only scored 3 goals all season.
Period.
That's what's bad.
Yeah.
They might not be giving up a lot of goals, but they're not putting up any goals at all.
And mind you, they play Friday against Uniata, and that will be a good game for them. Hopefully they can get their first win of the season.
They need to rally together and up until the midpoint of October so that they can get that win at home in Ferrum with a homecoming game.
Quick little stop in, though, by golf. You got to give a shout-out to men's golf. We have an ODAC Player of the Week, Jason Spar, doing a great job on the links. Just wanted to give a little shout-out there.
Bridgewater Golf has always been pretty good at getting the ODAC Player of the Week.
Yes.
And it's good to see that we're keeping their tradition this season.
And then if we move on quickly to...
Swimming? We're just going to kind of group the men's and women's together right now?
Yes. They did get invited to the Wildcat Invitational. I believe that's only the women's, correct?
Yes.
They
Or
have...
is that tennis?
I believe that is swimming. I believe that... No,
The
that's
tennis team got
That's
invited
tennis.
to the Wildcats Invitational.
Excuse me there.
You're
But
good.
swimming has a very good core group of people. I've talked to a lot of people on the swimming team this year. They believe in each other, and the biggest part about swimming that seems to be lost at higher level of swimming is a team. And you can have a star swimmer, but once you start winning those relays, once you start winning those group events, is when you start winning the entire event. And I think, period, they have a great chance to do that this year. And now let's get to tennis and talk about...
You're kind of jumping the gun a little bit there.
Yeah, my apologies. But women's tennis, they got invited to the Wildcats Invitational. It's exciting. Tennis isn't something that we normally talk about. Like, it's not something you hear on campus a lot. But it's nice to see them progressing.
It's someone that deserves credit, someone
Yes.
that deserves a little light shirt on him. It's impressive anytime you get invited to an invitational like this. It shows that their team has a lot of potential and has potential to be really good. They won their last game against Lynchburg 5-0, which is really impressive for a tennis team.
And like I said, once they got invited to the Wildcat Invitational, they got to play it. They opened the fall season there. And just a correction there, Lynchburg...
No, they got beat 5-0.
Yeah, they got beat 5-0
I misread
in
that.
tennis. It was hosted by Randolph-Macon, in addition to Bridgewater, Randolph, Lynchburg, and Pfeiffer College also played. There were several singles flights, and there was 3 double flights, and we don't know the exact stats on those, but we know that the Eagles women's tennis team can bounce back from that.
If they got invited to the invitational, they must be doing something right.
Correct. Now we're going to move on to football. These boys are the big boys on campus. This is the team that we've been wanting to see for the past 10 years. This is something we've wanted to see out of Bridgewater. Going in with a preseason ranking in the top 3 teams of the ODAC, they went out and absolutely destroyed Gettysburg in a statement home win, 41-10. Initial thoughts?
49-10.
41.
My words. This football team looks like the best football team Bridgewater's had since early 2000s when they made the national championship, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
This team has a lot of potential. I know that in practices they're going all out. I think my roommate was telling me he plays football. They had 13 straight days of full padded practice, which is just exhausting. But they're going all out. They want it this year because they know they have the team to do it.
Think about these names. All right, you have Trey Stevens, you have Jared Denham, you have Jay Scroggins. Surprise of the week for me, he's putting in work every single week. Chase Rosenthal.
Yeah.
I mean, a pick 6 to go up 14-0. I mean, that's just something that you normally wouldn't see out of Bridgewater. This defense looks fearsome. The offense looks together, complete. They've had transfers from JMU. They have put together a solid team. From the words of Coach Clark's mouth last year, he said, "I'm not going to jinx us, but we have a good team."
They do.
And when a coach can tell you that, you look forward to that season.
And with a lot of teams, this team is on the bats of Jay Scroggins, the quarterback. I think
Yes.
right now, he's the most improved player on this team. So even in the past, he struggled a little bit, but against Gettysburg, he looked really good. And they're moving to Stevenson this week, where they should have another rally and a good victory to keep them around going. So hopefully go up 2-0 in the season.
Yes, and just to close out, make sure you check in on that game against Stevenson. Go into the Bridgewater Sports, go to their schedule, and then you can just go ahead and watch them live.
This
over the
Saturday at
weekend.
7 o'clock.
This Saturday.
I will be commentating the game, so tune in.
Of course. You guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in to BC Sports. I'm Jacob.
I'm Brandon.
Have a good night.
And we're turning it over to Drake now.
All right. Thank you, Brandon and Jacob, for that recap on what's going on this year in Bridgewater Athletics. And let me tell you guys, it's an exciting year to be an Eagle. And up next, we have a freshman player from the women's basketball team, Jasmine Pierce, being interviewed about her transition to the collegiate level, her expectations, her experience, and even more. So let's take it to him.
Hello, BC Voice listeners. You're here with Lexi Brown, and I have a special guest with us today, freshman player Jasmine Pierce of your Bridgewater College college women's basketball team. How are you doing tonight, Jasmine?
I'm pretty good.
Good, good. So what I would like to know, and what I want the listeners to know, is more about you, your experience here, and just get to know what your expectations are for the year upcoming in the season, okay? All right, so first question, where are you from, Jasmine?
I'm from Surrey, Virginia.
Okay, and where'd you go to high school?
Surrey County High School.
All right. How far is that? Where's that at?
It's like two and a half hours away.
Okay, all right. So let me ask, did you play any travel ball?
Yeah, I play AAU like since I was in first grade, but I stopped playing when I got to high school.
Okay. How many AAU teams did you play for? I know people play for a couple or just stick to one.
I played for a couple.
Okay. Do you have which one was probably your favorite? Do you have a favorite one?
There was this team called just a Blue Williams team, but it wasn't like the elite team. It was just like a B team, I would say.
Okay.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
So you said you stopped playing when you got into high school. So compare. All right. So compare high school to AAU. What's the difference?
High school is more relaxed than AAU. AAU was very competitive and like you had to be very dedicated to AAU. The high school was chill.
Okay. So definitely a faster pace in AAU for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, since you're starting here at the collegiate level, how's that been for you?
It's been pretty good. I just have to keep up with everything, like lift and study hall and conditioning, along with like work and classes and stuff.
Okay. So what position are you playing, or what did you play?
I'm going to be playing shooting guard or point guard.
Okay, that's cool. Now, how about what's the difference between AAU and collegiate level? Is it been the same, or is the collegiate level much harder?
I would say it's probably about the same. Collegiate maybe like more competitive, but it's a good competition in AAU as well.
Okay. Yeah, I played a little bit of AAU travel ball when I played, but I was not that good, and I could not handle the collegiate level. All right, now let's look. What's it like being a freshman at a college level? How's the transition been for you?
It's been pretty good. Like the campus is small, so I'm getting around well. But I just have to like keep up with my work. It's a lot more work than high school.
Okay, so is it pretty challenging to balance academics with sports?
Yeah, it is. Once you get your schedule settled, then you should be good.
Okay. Do you have a lot of study halls? Does the team I think you guys have study halls or anything that kind of makes it a little bit easier, or is it still pretty stressful?
We have study hall twice a week, but I think study hall helps a lot because it just like gives you a time to focus on your work, and so you can get it done.
Okay. How about how's it been with the bonding with the team? Are you fitting in pretty good with the team? Is it really good family like?
Yeah, it is. I'm actually fitting pretty good, I guess. Everybody's pretty close, so it should be a fun season.
All right. Who would you say who's probably your closest friend on the team? Not to point anyone out or make anyone hurt any of the girls' feelings, but who are you closest with?
I would say Michaela, because I've known her before I got here. So.
What year is she?
She's a sophomore.
Sophomore?
Yeah.
Did you guys play ball together or anything? How'd you know her?
Yeah, we play AAU together. So she was on my favorite AAU team.
Oh, she was on the favorite AAU team?
Yeah.
Okay. What position did she play?
I would say she played like the 3.
Okay. All right. So what's your biggest fear so far going into the season? What are you most worried about?
The amount of work I would have to make up, like missing classes, like while I'm at a game or something. Just like trying to keep up.
Yeah, it can be a big change. Definitely understandable. What about basketball-wise in the game? Do you have any worries with the game?
I'm pretty small, so I might get slung around a little bit, but other than that, I should be able to keep up with everything.
All right. Let's see. So, how do you plan? What are you gonna do to balance your work with basketball? What do you have like a plan of action you're gonna do?
Well, I try to like write things down, like when things are due, and like get it done as soon as I can, and then like I guess like get it done during study hall, and stuff like that.
So, Jasmine, do you have who's your role model? Is there anybody specifically that put you onto basketball, or was it something you always knew you wanted to do, or was there somebody who kind of pushed you into it and told you about it, and you're like, oh man, I just gotta dribble me a ball?
Well, my dad was like a coach before I was even born, so I guess I was just brought up into basketball. So I just been playing ever since I was in first grade.
Okay, so is your dad a big role model of yours? Do you really look up to him?
I mean, he's taught me a lot with basketball. So yeah, basketball wise, I've learned a lot from him.
Okay. What would you say, is there another sport you'd be interested in if you didn't do basketball? What do you think?
I think I would like to run track. I like track.
Track? Okay,
Yeah.
you think... I think you'd be good at track. You look pretty, with your physique, you look like you are pretty speedy on the court. That might be one of your advantages this year.
Yeah, I hope so.
Maybe going between someone's legs. What do you think is your biggest strength on the court?
Right now, shooting.
Shooting?
Yeah.
Is that one of your favorite things to do?
Yeah, it is.
Do you have like a sweet spot? You know, some players like top of the key, some are on the corner. I could never.
I would say the wings.
The wings, really? Man, I'm impressed. I could not. That was my one. I could never do that. Top of the key was for me.
Yeah, but the corners. Do not pass me the ball in the corner.
Okay, so I think we found one of Jasmine's weaknesses is the corner shots. You hear that, Lady Eagles? Don't pass her the ball in the corners.
I'm gonna get better though. I'm gonna get better.
Of course, love the spirit. Do you have a favorite NBA player, WNBA player?
I would say my favorite NBA player is Stephen Curry, and my favorite WNBA player is Maya Moore.
Maya Moore? What team does she play for? I don't keep up with WNBA too much, so you might have to... You're not sure either?
I remember like watching her in college, but I don't really keep up with WNBA.
Okay.
I just know that she's a good player.
All right. Now with Stephen Curry, are you a bandwagon or have you been a fan since day one? I just gotta ask.
I guess you could say I'm a bandwagon.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I don't really watch like basketball like that.
Oh, okay. So once Golden State came on the come up, then you started saying Steph Curry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you feel like he's your favorite because you can relate to him? Do you guys like what's your favorite thing about him? Why Stephen Curry out of everybody?
I just like his work ethic. Like he's not the biggest, but he's like the most productive, and I like his shot and his handles.
Okay, I definitely can see that. Hopefully, and with your shots, if you pull the corners, then I guess we can call you a little Stephen Curry, maybe. So last question: what are you looking forward to the most this season? Like, what are you excited for this season? Like, what's getting you hype? Is it going to be the games, the crowds?
Yeah, I would say the games and like the atmosphere. I think like I get amped up when I see like people in the stands and like the cheerleaders and like the band and stuff.
Okay.
Gets me pretty excited.
So the home games is what we're looking forward to,
Yeah.
getting the hype.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for being with me today, and thank you for the BC Voice listeners tuning in and getting to know Jasmine more. I look forward to seeing you play this season, and I hope you and the Lady Eagles put in some work. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Jasmine, again for taking time out of your busy day as a college athlete to come talk to us and let us in on your life a little bit. Up next on our next segment is one that we all look forward to with the Squawk Talk. We have Holden and Justin here to talk to us this week about our childhood cartoons.
What's up, guys? This is Justin,
And Holden.
and we are Squawk Talk.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, we're super excited to bring you guys some weird and wacky things from some weird and wacky dudes. So today we're gonna go over our top 10 childhood cartoons. I kind of put childhood TV shows in here. There were a couple TV shows I was going over that aren't technically cartoons, but I had to put them on my list. So here's how this is going to go. We're both going to read our list, and we're just going to have some reactions, basically, to our lists. So, Holden, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'll go first. I just want to say real quick, these are based off of what we watched as children. So number one has to be, no question about it, the original Scooby-Doo. And I'm not even going to field a question on that, so we're just going to go straight to number two. The original Teen Titans. Not Teen Titans Go, not any of the remakes, the original.
Okay.
All right. Number three, we've got Avatar: The Last Airbender. Just as progression goes, the character development, just beautiful. Number four, I watched a lot of cartoons with my dad, so we're taking this all the way back to Hong Kong Phooey.
Okay.
That number one super guy. We've got Dynamite Dog Wonder coming in at number five. You had him and the Blue Falcon fighting crime. 6, Tom and Jerry. 7, Looney Tunes. 8, Flintstones. 9, The Jetsons. And then, just for the listeners, personally, I didn't watch this, but I figured, why not? We'll throw SpongeBob in there at a cool number 10.
Man, so you got like the old school.
The old school,
old
yes,
school.
sir.
Wow, mine's not as old school as yours. I threw in like maybe one really old school one.
All right, let's hear it, Justin. Let's hear it.
So before I go, I had a lot of shows. Okay, I have to give a couple of honorable mentions.
All right, let's hear them.
Johnny Test.
Okay,
Love that one.
okay.
Recess. Throwback for Disney. Kids Next Door. I was good. I will give Scooby-Doo the honorable mention. I did watch a couple episodes of that. And Camp Lazlo and Tom and Jerry. Those are a couple. All right, so number one, obviously for me, this is based off of quotability and how much fun I have just with this show not watching it. SpongeBob. Obviously, it has to be SpongeBob. Number two, Kim Possible. Number three, Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends. Number four, this probably wouldn't have made my list if I didn't watch it over the summer. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I loved it as a show, like you were saying. Just the character development, fantastic. Number five, Drake and Josh. Number six, the original. Has to be the original Looney Tunes. It can't be any of that crap that's come out last couple years. No, it can't be that. Number seven, Phineas and Ferb. That has to be on the list. Number 8, Jimmy Neutron. Number 9, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And number 10, Ned's Declassified School Survivor Guide.
I really think any TV show list, you can't rule out those two.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with a lot of these shows, like we were saying before, it all depends on what you grew up on and what your family grew up with. Because like you were saying, like with you and your dad, it all depends like on like what really bonds you as a family. And like a lot of these shows, like for both you and me, they really like bonded our families together.
True. All right, I'm gonna pose a question right here. Which of the shows on your list shaped your childhood the most?
Well, it has to be SpongeBob for me because, well, okay, so like a backstory, I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob till I was like 11 or 12. I remember the first ever SpongeBob episode I watched with my dad on his phone. Okay, so like one of the like first kind of like mobile phones. I was able to watch that with my dad. It was the episode where SpongeBob was a waiter for Squidward and his restaurant, the Fork on the Left episode. I will always remember that. And like every time I go home, we'll always quote, like literally we had a night last Friday where we ate burgers at 3 a.m. because Patrick did. So like I feel like SpongeBob to me not only shaped my childhood, it just shapes my friend groups. And I don't think I'd have the friends that I do if I didn't watch SpongeBob. Yeah. All right, how about you? What is the show?
Wow. I gotta go Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
Because Scooby-Doo is something that not only, like, I watched as a child. I mean, I have 2 younger sisters, they're 10 and 3, and we'll still watch it together now. And I can distinctly remember that one of the first episodes I ever watched was that one where it was like the first ghoul or whatever, and they thought it was Daphne's uncle, and then it wasn't, and that just, that still shook me to this day. And just, I remember like in the car we had, the DVD players that were on the headrest.
Oh yeah.
Like not built in, wrapped around.
I know what you're talking about.
Ashlyn and I, my twin sister, we watched Scooby-Doo going everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it
that's
didn't matter if it was an hour-long car ride or a 5-minute car ride. We were getting that Scooby-Doo theme song in there somehow.
Oh my gosh.
And just, that show just shaped. I mean, it shaped who I am. I mean, I really think I would really credit that show with, making me want to ask questions and just, having a gang and a mystery machine and all that stuff. So
Yeah. All right. So I don't know if a lot of your TV shows had movies, but if they did, which one out of your TV shows, if they did have a movie, was the better of them?
Oh wow. All right, just going right off my list. Avatar: The Last Airbender. That movie was trash.
I didn't watch that movie, and there's
trash.
a point.
That's a hot take right there. Avatar: The Last Airbender is trash. The movie. The Flintstones movie, iconic. But have you seen the live-action Scooby-Doos?
I've seen a couple of them, and they're not bad.
They're not bad. That is the one series of movies where I think the sequel is better than the first one.
Okay.
Because Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed, give that a Grammy, an Oscar, a Tony, all that.
Okay. Quick question for you. So we're both Avatar fans. What do you think of Legend of Korra? How about first as a standalone and second as kind of going after Avatar? What do you think?
I gotta be honest. I watched the first season, and that's
then you were done?
Yeah, I was done. I feel like that always happens with spin-offs. It's happening in the same universe, so you want the same thing, the same characters, the same plot lines, and it just didn't do it for me.
In my opinion, not as much comedy. If you don't have Sokka, there's no comedy.
That's true.
Because literally he was all the comedy. I've only gotten through the first 2 seasons of it. I think it was good to build off of the story. I think it was a great way to kind of come in and kind of fill some of the gaps and some of that Avatar history.
Yeah.
I thought it was great for that, but nothing's gonna be as good as the original.
That's true.
Avatar.
That's true. And back to your question about the movies, which out of your list, which movie was the best?
All right. Well, there were a lot. So a lot of these movies that came out for these shows were on the channel, so it wasn't big. So Kim Possible movie, they had a couple of them. They were more extended episodes, so I really wouldn't count as a movie.
Did you know they're making a live action?
It was awful.
Was it?
It was awful. Foster's Home Imaginary Friends is kind of the same thing. Avatar was awful. Drake and Josh, all of these is kind of they didn't really have any big movies. I will say SpongeBob, the first movie is great. Second one was awful. I would say out of all these, I thought the Jimmy Neutron movie was amazing.
That movie,
I think that was better than I'm a huge SpongeBob fan, but I think it was better than the SpongeBob movie, to be honest. I think when a movie drags more people to watch the show, that means it must be a good movie. And I think Jimmy Neutron, that movie drove me to watch the show.
Yeah,
even though the show came out before the movie. So
yeah, I have the Jimmy Neutron movie on VHS at my house.
Same though.
And the soundtrack for that movie, wow,
fire. For
the time, just fire, straight fire.
Oh, definitely fire.
All right, favorite character out of any of these shows. Pick one favorite character. Go.
Oh man, that is hard. I mean, we talked about, I'm going to go with the show I haven't talked about that much. We're going to go with Foster's Home of Imaginary Friends.
Okay.
I loved Blue in that show. I also loved Cheese. Cheese is one of those characters that didn't come on a lot, but when he did, he was so funny.
So funny, yeah.
So funny. Me and my family still quote him a lot. It's just one of those characters that, again, doesn't come on a lot, but when he does, it's amazing.
For sure, yeah. Mine, I gotta go straight out of Dynamite Dog Wonder, the Blue Falcon. And that show, it was just so interesting because you know, in normal shows you have this dynamic where the human is obviously above the animal, but Dynamite was technically more powerful and he did more. He was the main focus, where the Blue Falcon was just kind of his sidekick. Right. And when you come from watching the original Batman and Robin and stuff like that, it's cool to see it the other way around.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I gotta go Blue Falcon, my favorite character.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. Again, this was another rendition of Squawk Talk.
Squawk Talk, baby.
Oh, heck yeah. Hopefully we'll come back. We'll have something even crazier and wackier to talk about next time.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Thank you, Justin and Holden. I know just listening to that brought back a lot of memories for me. I mean, if you ask me who loves orange soda, I'll be the first to respond. Up next in our next segment, we have Ian and Ayinde, who are talking about the Joker movie that's upcoming, as well as the critical praise it's getting from film festivals, as well as all the controversial topics surrounding the film itself. So with that, let's have Ian and Ayinde take it away.
Hello, this is Ian.
And this is Ayinde again.
And so we're going to talk about the Joker film. And I know last semester we were talking about that when Todd Phillips dropped just a little first look of Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker. Now, since it's been circling around at different film festivals, it's getting a lot of praise. And recently it actually won the best film at the Venice Film Festival.
Yeah, it was just shown at the Toronto International Film Festival, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But winning the top prize at the Venice Film Festival, I mean, I kind of saw it coming. Because, like, given the way the trailer, the final trailer that came out a couple weeks ago, how that was structured, like, that is... If there's ever a superhero movie that should win an Academy Award, it is this one. And to see that it winning the top prize at Venice, like, that's just... And everyone's praising Joaquin Phoenix's performance.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's saying that his performance is Oscar-worthy, that, like, he is probably going to get a nomination for Best Actor.
And this big win at Venice really helps cement that. So hopefully coming award season in January, February, we do get to see, Joaquin Phoenix's name out there, and maybe even see the Joker up for Best Picture. I wouldn't be opposed to
that. Would be insane. Even, like, with the criticisms the film is also getting as well.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation about that because, oh boy, there's a lot to get to. But yeah, what are your thoughts about it?
The criticisms?
Well,
just about the movie in general. Venice. I was not surprised because early buzz from the film before it even came to festivals was that the movie's amazing. It's phenomenal. That his performance as the Joker is amazing. And then once it got screened at the first festival, like, came out, I was like, oh, this is one of the best films of the year. And I'm not surprised because the movie looks like Taxi Driver. And it looks like Taxi Driver with the Joker in it, and showing basically this guy slowly becoming insane because of society is very interesting in a realistic way.
Yeah, but even with all these praises, there's been a lot more controversy about this movie than I thought there was going to be. I mean, I assumed there was always going to be because it's the Joker. He's a very polarizing figure. But so there, at its release from the Venice, it sat at 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then after the Toronto International Film Festival, it dropped to 77 from 77 reviews.
Yeah,
and I saw a couple of reviews from, like, Slate, The Verge, The Guardian, talking about the movie and talking about how it's glorification of mass murderers. Basically, the Joker movie is a movie about an incel. That's
what it is. The movie is about an incel, and he goes and he starts becoming insane because of that.
And a lot of criticisms are geared towards, this movie is trying to glorify those kind of people, making them seem like the hero of the story. And to call those opinions wrong is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, because it's the movie about the Joker, and he making him the protagonist of his own story, making him seem like the hero is honestly like what you would see from a Joker film because you're seeing it from his perspective.
Yeah, every villain is the hero of their own story. So, like, just to see, I think this is going to be, like, the most polarizing movie of the year. Like how Mother was the most polarizing movie.
Yes, this movie is going to be very polarizing when it comes out, like when the general audiences see this film, because, like, most of them are not expecting this movie to be what it is. They're expecting it to be like a regular comic book film.
Right.
And this is not.
And I think that's the issue, is that as much as I do love the MCU, we have gotten, like, comic book films have gotten to a point where it is all about the spectacle. We don't really have character pieces. We don't have those kind of deep dives into characters. We got, like, Avengers Endgame is a massive spectacle of, and even Spider-Man Far From Home is a bit of a spectacle, but we don't have another. Marvel doesn't have a Dark
kid
Knight.
films.
Right.
That's what they are. And then seeing a character-driven film about the Joker, or how this man becomes the Joker, it's going to be it's going to be nerve wracking to watch, and like
it is going to be. It is an experience. Like we as a, I don't want to say we as a society, because the whole "we live in a society" meme. So to me they've overstayed their welcome. They're still funny, but they have overstayed their welcome. But we do need to watch this. Like, we have to show that, you know, we're not just about the MCU. We're not just about the spectacle movies, because even the DCEU movies, we can agree are still sort of spectacle.
Oh yeah,
movies.
it's props on like Warner Brothers for like letting that happen, letting them make this really low budget film and having like the freedom to be able to do this.
Right.
Like with Marvel, the Blade movie will not be rated R. These movies will not be like these old like. They will not be rated R. They won't. Like how they said Deadpool will be rated R. Then the director came. I was like, oh, Deadpool could be PG-13. You can make a PG-13 Deadpool. But then with this Joker movie, they're
spoilers. No, you can't.
They're just giving it all hands on deck on Todd Phillips, letting him do whatever the heck he wants.
It's gonna be really fun to see. Like, I'm already again.
I'm
Halloween,
so excited.
Halloween's coming. I was like, I want to do it. I want to trim everything. I want to do the Joker, because that is how like tantalizing that character is. How fascinating.
I'm so excited to see what he's like, because you haven't seen anything from the trailers at all.
You just kind of get like glimpses, and like the part at the end of the final trailer where it's just like he's talking to Robert De Niro's character.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, when you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
Because like I feel like
it's like that little bit of confidence, and just the way that he looks when he says it. It's just he carries an aura around. It's like Phoenix has a presence.
Yeah.
Have you seen what was the movie that he was in? The Master.
Yeah.
He was really good in that, and he had a presence in that, like that elevated every scene that he was in.
He really
and
did.
You can see that in the trailers for the Joker,
'cause,
even
like,
the moments where he's not really speaking.
Joaquin Phoenix talked about like playing the two different characters of Arthur and Joker, that like he thought playing as Arthur was a lot more difficult than the Joker, because with the Joker he had so much freedom and like be able to just be the Joker, and like seeing like these two different characters is going to be pretty interesting to see, like this really fragile person, and then see him become the Joker as a completely different character in general.
And honestly, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing that scene when he's on that.
Oh, I think he's gassing everyone.
That's what I'm saying.
He's killing everyone in that room.
For those who are unaware, in the Dark Knight Returns comic, there's a moment where the Joker's on a talk show, sort of like a Jay Leno talk show, but they couldn't reference Jay Leno. And spoiler alert, nobody makes it out alive. So, and I know Tom Phillips said that he wasn't taking any, and he's not taking anything from the source material, but come on.
Or like the scene when he's in the scene in the trailer and he's walking around with flowers. I think he just killed what's her name? The love interest. I think he like gasses her with the flowers. With the Joker gas.
And he's just coming down the stairs.
In the scene when he's dancing down the steps in the city. Oh my lord, the cinematography looks so good.
Can you guys tell that we're excited for this movie? It's
amazing.
It's gonna be fantastic. It might be probably. Look, The Dark Knight is one of the greatest movies.
Logan was one of the Marvel films that really great character film. Other than that, there really hasn't been.
What was cool about Logan and The Dark Knight was that they were superhero movies that didn't need to be superhero movies.
Exactly. Same with Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 still kind of felt like a superhero movie but there was still something deeper to Spider-Man 2. But with Dark Knight and Logan, you could have had the same movie play out, and no superheroes, no mutants, no anything, and it still would have been fantastic. It's just the added bonus of just having superheroes, and I feel like we're gonna see that with the Joker. It is a character study, but it just so happens to be based on one of the most iconic supervillains of all time.
Well, I'm really excited because this is off of DC Black, which is Todd Phillips' idea of like their own like Elseworld stories of these DC characters on low budget. So if this movie does really well, you're gonna see a lot more of DC Black films of different like either supervillains or superheroes of like very low budget character stories around them, which is going to be very awesome to see if like Joker becomes really good.
I want to see a Poison Ivy one.
Yes.
But yeah, that's it for us. If you guys are inclined, Joker comes out October 4th of this year. It's a couple weeks away. But this has been us talking about the movie. My name is Ayinde.
And I'm Ian.
Thank you and have a great night.
All right, thank you, Ian and Ayinde, for getting the hype all surrounding the new Joker movie that, like Ayinde said, comes out in October. And up next, we have our Politicast, where Dean and Mo are going to discuss Trump ending Taliban talks, the firing of John Bolton, and the North Carolina special elections. Here is Dean and Mo.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Been a long day.
We're going to talk some politics. This is Dean Barker.
Politics.
And
I'm Mo Kamara. We here, live from Bridgewater.
Here for the BC Voice Politicast. So.
Just want to start off with a remembrance of the 18-year anniversary of 9/11. We do view it as a important event that shaped our lives. It happened when I was about 2 years old. Man, it has reflected in our future of our nation. But yeah, unfortunate event.
Let's have a 10-second moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We wanted to have this moment to reflect and in respect of those who lost family members, who lost friends.
Yeah.
This was a very tragic day in American history. A lot of good people were lost
Yes, sir.
needlessly. Since then, we have done a great reform in our airport security and the TSA, and we've thankfully prevented a lot more events like this happening.
Many steps, lots of steps been taken. So yeah, let's see what our political landscape is looking like. Obviously, we know we have our reality TV show star, our commander-in-chief, Mr. Donald Trump.
So what's on the episode today?
So today, reports coming in from multiple sources, our first source being CNN. We have Trump saying the talks with Taliban is dead. The talks against the Taliban are dead. He said as far as he's concerned, they're done. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
This is actually really interesting, especially with what we're going to get into later with John Bolton being fired. A few days ago, this meeting had been scheduled for a long time, talking about, what is it? Oh, I got it right here. Trump had planned to have this meeting with the Taliban in hopes of ending the Iraq War, which has been going on for 18 years.
War which, in fact, I was able to pull up. Bolton, who used to be an aide during the George Bush administration, was one of the main pushers for the war. So it was pretty interesting to see that Trump, who's such a polarizing figure, and you really never know what his next step's gonna be, decided to let go of his advisor who is pro-war.
Yeah, I think what really is interesting is John Bolton is a man who's known for being very pro-war. He's not just an advocate of this war, but also of...
referred to as a hawk, a term I learned. Shout out Professor Pallister. He used it today in class, so yeah, I didn't pick that up.
He was advocate for a regime change in Iran, Syria, Libya, Venezuela, Cuba, Yemen, and North Korea.
And I look at this as maybe a step in Trump preparing for the upcoming election, maybe not trying to really offset too many of his voters, because at the time, like we're gonna talk further in this session, but the stories coming out of Carolina, out of the Democratic and Republican camps out of Carolina, is pretty shocking. So, what's with the swerve on that?
Well, one last thing before we get into the next subject, and this is a good segue, is Bolton actually advised Trump not to go through with this meeting because it was just a few days before 9/11. He didn't want to bring up any traumatic memories for people who were dealing with this. Trump actually ended up letting Bolton go, but he actually followed his advice in this situation and called off the meetings. But Trump says that it was all his plan to cancel the meeting. He didn't cite any other ideas. So that's what we're going to get into.
So just a few days ago, attention. Most definitely.
Yeah, so just a few days ago, Trump decided to fire John Bolton. He was the 27th National Security Advisor, and he was the third in the last 2 years and 8 months. He was preceded by Michael Flynn and H.R. McMaster.
What's interesting here is that Bolton actually says that he didn't get fired, that he wanted to resign. His specific quote from Twitter was, "I offered to resign last night, and President Trump said, let's talk about it tomorrow." So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, as we know, our president isn't. I view him as an entertainer, and so you never know what you're gonna get, and this just shows that that man is unpredictable. So we're tuned in. We'll be paying attention to how it's looking. So
do you think Do you think he did get fired, or do you think that he resigned?
I probably believe that he knew the firing was coming, so he probably tried to resign before, leave with some dignity.
So ultimately, him
he was
firing
fired.
versus getting resigned doesn't really make much of a difference.
He was definitely fired.
Yeah,
that man was out. But one story I did want to get before we got out of here was the stories coming out of the North Carolina camp. North Carolina had a special election going on, and Democrats claim that so pretty much it was the Republicans were able to win with a slim margin. It was a formerly the governor of North Carolina is a Democrat, but after today's election, the state has swung to red. So how do you view that?
I think it was interesting. I mean, looking at how the state is traditionally votes red, I mean, the only presidential election they didn't vote red in was John McCain, and even that was an extremely slim margin. State Senator John Bishop won by 2 votes over Dan McCready in the 9th District. Democrat Chairwoman Cherry Bustos basically blamed Trump and extra spending, saying that it took more than $6 million in outside Republicans spending and in a last-minute Trump rally. This is actually interesting because the Democrats spent more than the Republicans did on these 2 elections and still lost. So I would like to know why she feels that it was extra spending that won when they were the ones doing the extra spending.
So there's a Representative Darren Jackson, who is the House Democrat leader, said that with the Republicans dominating nearly half of the Carolina chamber, they used their power in the House to override the Governor Roy Cooper's veto of the 2-year budget. So the Democrats believe they used deceptive behavior to override their veto, and there was a claim, in which obviously they're unhappy they lost a majority in their state house. But it's important to see where it goes because a trend is coming at many states. The battlefield it's going to be a whole lot of new battlefield states with rural votes counting, urban votes, all of that. Demographics, something to look at. And one last thing before our time is up, coming up at 7:58. But we did see that the polls from a Democratic presidency poll came out with we had Joe Biden coming out with 28% of the vote, and Elizabeth Warren coming at 24%, and Bernie Sanders coming third at 17%. But when a breakdown of the racial voting, Biden was able to lead among the black votes with 42%. We had Bernie leading with Hispanic votes, and Elizabeth Warren with the
Democrats usually do very well with
the minorities.
Yeah, with the minority voting. I wanted to note one thing from the North Carolina election. Greg Murphy won the 3rd district over Alan Thomas, and it was not a close vote at all. So definitely it's still very much a red state. Republicans in North Carolina don't have anything to be concerned about. However, it was surprising that the Bishop's win was so close because, Dave Wasserman, a U.S. House editor of Cook Political, said that they should feel relieved, but there are 35 GOP-held House seats that are less Republican than North Carolina. So they should be very concerned heading into the next election.
Summing it up, I'm looking at it as this election coming up, we're going to need to pay close attention to it because we have many different battleground states coming up. There's going to be many states that were underappreciated before that didn't count that are going to come up and make a good part of the process. So that's going to be all for today with our today's political cast. I'm Mo Kamara.
I'm
with
D.
my
Barker.
man D. Baker. And have a great night.
Peace out. Go Eagles.
Alrighty, thank you, Dean and Mo, doing their best to keep us up to date and informed on modern day politics. So, up next in our next segment, we have Chance and Jake, who are talking about the significant changes that Bridgewater College has implemented over the summer, and they're letting us know exactly how it affects our student life.
Alright, it's your boy Chance here.
It's Jake.
We're just here to talk about the changes that we've seen. We're only sophomores, but the changes we've seen over the summer. Jake,
I would say probably the biggest change that they made is the removal of cable TV from all the dorm rooms, in replacement with students relying on streaming services to watch TV, football games, basketball games, that kind of stuff.
It's just something to fill in your free time, you know. Like I know I use a live stream on my Xbox. How do you?
I have a live stream. I watch it on YouTube TV. But last year being freshmen, we used cable almost every single day to watch TV, and some of the people can't afford to have a streaming service. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for them, but sometimes it just makes it difficult to watch football games. Like I know previously, last Sunday.
Or just any sports game.
Yeah. I mean, we were having difficulty watching the game because some of us didn't have streaming sites, and it made it difficult for us all to watch the game. But how do you feel about it?
Well, at first when I got the email, I was kind of bummed. But coming back, I figured maybe some people will get together. They're watching the KCC. I heard they were going to have cable in there. Bigger TV, something along those lines. But when we get back, there was cable. There wasn't cable anywhere. And I mean, I'm sure like most people think, oh, it's just cable, go out and do something. But times when it's raining or like, you know, your team's playing, be nice to have that alternative to do because, you know, it's just something.
No, this is coming from two people who heavily relied on cable to watch sports games and such. It may not be like this for everybody, but for us, coming from our perspective, it was a pretty big difference not having cable and not like having a streaming service. But another big change that they made was the removal of the Take 5 in Bowman Hall. Because how do you feel about that?
I didn't use the Take 5 all that much, but I know several people that do use it or did use it a lot. And when they took that away, it just took away like a quick snack to get between classes, especially in well, I mean it was in Bowman, but taking that away, it just made a big difference.
Yeah, I use the Take 5 almost every day because I'm a business major. The majority of my classes are in Bowman, so every day I'd go there and just get my food, get some chips, get a sandwich or something, and a drink, and just take it to class. And unfortunately now that's not available anymore. They replaced it with a what is it?
A to-go tray.
No, they didn't. In the study room.
Oh, no. They're replacing it with a little restaurant or something, sandwich shop in the library.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but again, Take 5 was.
Yeah, it's a pretty big. Me being in Heritage now, right across the way from it, I find it as a pretty big difference of someone who used it every single day to either get breakfast or lunch or just something quick before my class that I could sit and have during class. But yeah.
How do you feel about what they replaced it with? The
study room?
Yeah, that lounge area.
I think that based on what I'm seeing, I have a good amount of classes in Bowman. I don't often see people sitting in there. Usually it's only like 2 or 3 people. Nobody's really sitting there working or conversing. It kind of looks like they're sitting there waiting for their friends or something. I think the Take 5 would always have a line that went down the hallway because many people would do it before class.
Yep.
So I think I don't know.
All right, that was a good thought. Good thought. One more thing we just want to talk about is what they're putting in the library, and actually the library overall, because I was told when I got here that it was going to be done. How do you feel about it not being done, Jake?
Me personally,
Yeah, you personally.
it doesn't make that big of an impact to me, because a lot of the work I've done, me being a sophomore, I haven't really had to use books that much. Most of my stuff has been online. But when I came here and visited, when I was a senior in high school, I'm pretty sure it was being built, and they told us it would be built maybe by my sophomore year, I'm pretty sure. But I've heard things that, like, their windows were like messed up, like the shipment of windows. But I mean, from what it looks like right now, it looks like a great facility. I think it'll be used very well when it's completed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when that'll be. Hopefully by next year.
Yep.
How do you feel? How do you feel about it?
Well, like you, most of my stuff is online, but I would say I understand, because I remember in high school, although I may not have used the library all the time, I know a lot of people do, and the library really gives someone a place where it's quiet that they can get away to, because not everybody can find somewhere quiet to study. And so I think this delaying of the library is impacting some people, not just some people more than others. And so I think it should have been we should have been told a lengthier time as to when it would be done, rather than when they told us.
I would say it's not a really significant change, but another change that they made that I think is actually kind of productive is the Take 5 boxes at the KCC, where you just pay one $5 fee and then you can get your box, and the box is much bigger than last year.
Is that to go whenever? You can take it anytime?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then it's got like different sections in the box, and it just seems much better than the last box. And you take it, fill up your food, and once you finish with it, you bring it back. They give you a new one, and I just think it's a good replacement. I'm generous for it. How do you feel about that?
I don't use it all that much. I didn't use the to-go boxes before, but I think it is a smart addition and an improvement into our KCC. One last thing to talk about is that laundry service. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Okay, well, let's talk. These are the changes they've made so far. What are some other improvements you've seen over, or things you aren't approve of? One thing we did today was intramurals. They've changed that quite a bit. They've got a new coordinator. If you're not doing intramurals, I suggest you do. They're fun.
Very fun.
But overall, I think with the additions of, the
Take 5 box.
Yeah,
I think that's a great addition. Cable, people can have different opinions about it based on how much you used it last year. But from my perspective, that had a big impact on.
That was the biggest impact.
That was probably the biggest for me.
And then the library. Felt as if that the library, they should have, or we should have been told from the start what we were dealing with as in regards to not having one.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Chance and Jake, for keeping us up to date with what Bridgewater College has been going through and going over for the last couple of months while the students, have been out. And up next, we have the famous trio of Brandon, Justin, and Jacob here with us to discuss this crazy first week of the NFL season, along with the controversial topics, injuries, and even their early season predictions. So without further ado.
Hello, Bridgewater. Welcome. It is the last segment of today's podcast. We're talking about the NFL. Week 1 just ended. My name is Brandon.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Jacob.
You heard me and Jacob earlier talking about BC sports, and now we're back talking about more sports. Football. So we got to start off talking about that Bears-Packers game. The first game of the season, so much hype around this Bears team. Super Bowl contenders. In my mind, I had them for my Super Bowl predictions in the podcast we did. I thought I was really high on the Bears, and to see them come out, I'm not surprised at their offense and scoreline. I'm not a Mitchell Trubisky believer, but I expected them to at least win close game, but they got blown out, and that kind of surprised me. What do you guys think?
Bottom line, Mitchell Trubisky is not a franchise quarterback. You can't put him in there and expect him to score points. There's a difference between a game manager and a franchise quarterback. And when you look at Mitchell Trubisky, what they drafted him for is what he's doing. He's being a game manager, but you got to score points. Like we were talking about earlier today, Allen Robinson is up there. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL, period. And he doesn't get a lot of credit. His catches are ridiculous. His route running is really good. His ability to get open in coverages that are very slim is amazing. Finding him is the problem. If you are an NFL quarterback and a meme gets created about you where the defense separates and your receiver sitting in the middle like Moses parting the Red Sea and you can't find him, point blank period, you don't deserve to wear the Bears uniform and throw the football. It is ridiculous that they scored 3 points in your season opener. We waited hundreds of days. I would not want to be a Bears fan and go to that game.
Mitch Trubisky isn't a great quarterback, but he's still the best quarterback that franchise has had in a long time.
Well,
from Jay Cutler to Mitch Trubisky, that's still a great improvement.
Jay Cutler,
so in their eyes,
I can agree there.
Whoa, slow down.
Here's a hot take. If Jay Cutler didn't get hurt in that NFC Championship game against the Packers, I think the Bears could have won and gone to the Super Bowl against the Steelers.
Wow.
And that is a can of worms for another time.
Yeah,
that's a can of worms for another time.
Tune into our Beyond the Bliss podcast. We'll probably talk about that.
Yes.
But also, here's what I think. The Bears should have run the ball more. I think David Montgomery should have gotten way more carries than he did. But they brought him in to be the workhorse, in my opinion. I know they want the three-headed monster, but they should run the ball with Montgomery. They should get the ball more to Tariq Cohen as much as possible because he is their do-it-all back.
Tariq Cohen is great.
And what I think about Tariq Cohen is, how do you feel? Howard goes to the Eagles, and now there's a new guy who's ripping it up. But give him a screen or something. Give him something in the flat.
Tariq Cohen's never been a guy that thrives on 20-plus carries a game.
That's what I'm saying, passing the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So David Montgomery is a great pickup to fill that Howard's empty spot there.
And we're talking about Mitch Trubisky being a game manager. What better way to kind of ease your way into it by throwing a couple checkdowns to possibly your best receiver besides Allen Robinson?
Yeah.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes and to talk about so many things. So let's move on. I'll go on one highlight of the week. So all the games, crazy week of football. One highlight of the week. I have the Titans destroying the Browns in a huge upset this week.
Yeah, the Browns are going to the Super Bowl, but it's the toilet. All right, it's the period. When there are too many egos on a team, it just doesn't work. You saw it with Ocho and T.O. You've seen it all over the league. When T.O. was on the team with McNabb, these teams get built up so much, the pressure is too much. This is week 1. I get it, right? There are still 15 more games to play. But all I see are these comments on Instagram or comments on Twitter is that they have all these players and they're so ready. And just like you said, they are who we thought they were.
Yep.
Exactly. They are the what? They're the Browns, period. Yeah. And until you win games and you can prove to me that you can go in the playoffs, I'm not going to believe in it, Brandon. I just can't, period.
Do you think that game speaks more about the Titans or more about the Browns?
Titans.
You think the Titans are for real?
I don't think the Titans are for real. No, I can't say that there because you don't know that yet.
Here's where I say Marcus Mariota is playing for his job this year.
Exactly.
He is.
Contract year.
In that game, he played like it. Also, there's another quarterback from that draft class who's playing for his contract.
Yeah,
played awful.
Mr. Picks.
Yeah, like Jameis Winston. I had him on my fantasy team. I started him because I thought Bruce Arians was going to do something with him.
No,
and it just, you can't fix. I don't know how you can't.
And
fix
2 pick sixes in a game is not how to come out and be like, hey, I'm your guy.
Like
it's not
as
it.
a quarterback, you come in the NFL and you want that 2-minute offense drive to tie the game up. And what do? You throw a pick 6 and a ball he should have thrown in the dirt.
Yep.
On a screen.
So what do you think about my idea here? Mayfield, like he didn't play terrible the first. I mean, his team wasn't great, but the fourth quarter, back to back interceptions.
Well, that's the problem. He's young. He has a lot to learn as a quarterback. You look at Andrew Luck, who's now retired. You look at Tom Brady. There's a difference in IQ there. Tom Brady will say, you know what? It may be 3rd and 8, and I may be down by 2 touchdowns, and we're at the start of the fourth quarter, but he will still throw the ball out of bounds because he knows his defense is going to give him another chance, period.
Exactly.
But Baker wanted it so bad that he was willing to throw an interception. And you could see the entire morale of the team switch once that fourth quarter hit. After every interception, they have so many distractions, it's ridiculous. The highlight of the day for the Browns was the watch that Odell Beckham was wearing. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, let's get off the Browns. This is going to get me fuming. Okay? One thing you don't know about me yet on this broadcast is I'm a Bengals fan, point blank and period. Yep. My topic is the Bengals are back. Okay, this is a hot take. I get it. Not a lot of people believe in the Bengals, period. But if you look at the division, you got the Steelers, you have the Ravens, and we, like we just said, the Super Bowl Browns. Preseason hype is just that. Preseason hype. Ross was getting trade rumors. Joe Mixon wasn't healthy. Was AJ going to be healthy for week 2, 3, or 4? This team banded together, right? And this defense is now fourth in the NFL.
And that's what's surprising to me.
I'm not even worried about this high-powered offense. John Ross, a flea flicker is not going to happen every game.
Right.
And a safety jumping over top and not catching an interception is not going to happen every game. His 2 touchdowns were lucky. Point blank, period. You got to look at it like that. Mm-hmm. Tyler Boyd was the receiver who we thought he was. Okay, he's solid. He's going to catch balls. He's going to do his thing.
And just think about when you got to get AJ Green back.
Yeah, AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, and John Ross. That's dangerous. If Andy Dalton can band together and play like the old Andy Dalton.
When Joe Mixon's healthy and you have Gio Bernard in the backfield.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, and this team is set up for success. Andy Dalton, believe me not, is the leader in the NFL in passing yards. Would you believe me if I told you that a week ago that he would be the leader in the NFL in passing yards after week 1?
Well, it's also week 1. Week 1. I probably would have believed anything week 1. Last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the leader. Come on.
Yeah, I get that. But you got to take it where it's given. You know what I'm saying?
And the Seahawks defense, they got better. And the fact that he was throwing against them.
Yeah, and they did get clowny. But we can't give them too much credit. Like you said, it's week 1. There's still a lot to build off of. One thing I do want to get to really quick, Antonio Brown.
All right.
You heard the side of the Steelers fan. I'm going to let him start it off.
All right. Well, with Antonio Brown, I don't want to say that he purposely got released by the Raiders to be a Patriot. But I did. I honestly think he might have. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter, Facebook, that he might go inside the Patriots and rip them apart. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Bill Belichick will let that happen. If he screws up, Bill Belichick won't be afraid to release him because that's who the Patriots are. I think if any team can really get him together, it's the Patriots. I know I'm a Steelers fan, and I know that that's the last team I want to see him on. But also, as an Antonio Brown fan, this is the best place he could go.
I think that we need to stop overhyping Antonio Brown. We need to stop doing it. Last year, he was overperformed by the guy next to him, Juju. He's good. He's
all right.
No, listen to me. Listen to me.
15 touchdowns.
Antonio Brown is a great receiver.
But what did Juju do against
He's
the
not.
Patriots
I don't think he's elite. By week 6, Antonio Brown will not be on the roster. Josh Gordon will be suspended. They just traded Demaryius Thomas. All they'll have left is Dorsett and Edelman. That's still not bad. They have a great team. Patriots probably still be in the Super Bowl.
I don't want to hear it.
But I don't think Gordon will be on that team.
Gordon's a different person. You got to give it to him. He came back clean.
He hasn't played a full season in 7 years.
And it's going to happen this year. I promise you it will. Brown, I don't think he'll be a Patriot for long. And the reason for that is these sex allegations. That is ridiculous. It's literally when... The meme game is too ridiculous. When you look at it on Instagram, you see SpongeBob holding up a sign that says Antonio Brown nonsense has happened in 0 days. It's ridiculous. Every single time you hear about the NFL, the first thing is, what did he do now?
See, my thing is,
what team wants to be associated with that?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers obviously won that Raiders trade. Even though, at the time, everybody thought they lost that trade. Obviously, we won the trade.
They didn't trade him to New England because Steelers didn't want to give him to rival. They're going to New England anyway.
Yeah.
But, okay, so quick minute. We got to get the Justin hot take.
All right, hot take. So, obviously, I do want to talk about the Steelers and how bad they were. But I actually want to talk about the Raiders and how good they were. I mean, it was against a Broncos team, I will say that. But, I think they were a lot better than I expected them to be. Josh Jacobs, I think, is a for real running back in the NFL.
Yes.
Every year for fantasy football, I draft a rookie running back, and he is the running back that I drafted. And I think he's going to be possibly top 5 rusher, but at least top 10 rushing yards this season.
And I can agree with that, point blank, period.
And just real quick, Denver, I was hyping up if you listen to our podcast. I thought they had a top 3 defense. They proved me wrong.
And
Denver,
and Tyrell Williams
they got some things to work on there.
Good as a receiver.
Yes, he
looked good as a number 1. He could prove he can be a number 1. We thought he'd be a good compliment for Antonio Brown, but he proved
he's proved he's a number 1. Let's get to these. What we're gonna do now is little quick picks. This is a new thing that we're gonna try with these broadcasts. Is quick picks for these next games coming up this weekend. And go ahead, Brandon, hit us with the games.
So we got to wrap this up quickly. So we're gonna go through each game of week 2. So Buccaneers at Panthers.
Give me Panthers.
Panthers.
Panthers. I want to go Bucks.
Arizona at Baltimore.
Give me Baltimore all the way.
Baltimore. You don't
You don't
come
do that
from
in
a
Baltimore.
59 point
Where is it?
in Baltimore.
It's in Baltimore.
It's in Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Chargers at Lions.
Give me the Chargers.
Give me the Chargers.
Chargers.
Colts at Titans.
Give me the Colts.
Give me the Titans.
Give me the Colts. Colts look too good against a pretty decent Chargers defense.
The Titans impressed me last week, so they got a lot to back up. 49ers at Cincinnati.
Give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, give me Cincinnati.
Give me San Fran.
Oh, okay. So we're already starting on the beef here.
Okay.
Jaguars versus Texans in Houston.
Deshaun Watson look ridiculous. Give me Texans.
Texans all day. Minnesota at Green Bay. Game of the week, in my opinion.
Yes, game of the week. And you know what? Give me Kirk Cousins. I'm taking the Vikings.
I think that the Vikings are taking the North this year.
I'm taking
So I got Minnesota.
Taking Green Bay.
It is in Lambeau. You have to consider that.
Okay.
Cowboys and Washington.
Okay, this is the most interesting game of the week. That when it comes to like intriguing, I think Washington puts up a fight if the Cowboys win.
I think Washington looked really like a Super Bowl contender first half, and then looks like the Browns in the second half. I gotta go Dallas.
Yeah.
They can't finish a game.
Dallas is a safe pick.
Yeah.
Seahawks at Pittsburgh.
Give me the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
I'm a Steelers fan. I have to pick the Steelers. I'm sorry. It's at home. They have a lot to prove from that Patriots game.
As someone who watched the entire Bengals game against the Seahawks, I can't see a receiver going off against them. I just can't.
Bills going to see the Giants.
Give me the Bills.
Give me the Giants.
Give me the Giants. Yeah, I'll take
Giants
the
at home. Evan Ingram's going to step up, score 3 touchdowns, calling it. Patriots in Miami. Moving on.
I mean, we know what happens every year when the Patriots visit Miami, but this is going to be the year.
This Miami team is, I said it earlier, I think this Miami team is the worst NFL team I have ever seen. Worse than the 08 Lions. Horrible, horrible team. Got a Miami fan in the other room, not very happy with my comment. All right, Chiefs and Oakland.
No, he's a Lions fan, but.
Oh, he's a Lions fan.
Chiefs in Oakland, give me Mahomes. I mean, that kid is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know this now, Tyreek Hill's out. Start Watkins. Please, just be smart.
Please. McCall Hardman, I'll put him up there too as a fantasy receiver. But yeah, Chiefs.
I might have to retract my game of the week statement. Saints going back for revenge in L.A. against the Rams.
Give me the Saints.
Please give me the Saints. The Rams.
Give me the Rams.
All right, go ahead. Next one. Next one. We don't have a lot of time left.
Bears versus Broncos.
Give me the Bears.
Yep, give me the Bears.
Eagles going to Atlanta.
Give me the Eagles.
Bounce back game for Atlanta. Falcons come out on top.
Give me the Eagles. Carson Wentz looked really hot in that second half.
He did. And last game, Monday night game, Browns going to the Jets.
Browns going to the Jets, is what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Le'Veon's going to run all over that defense. Give me the Jets.
Give me the Browns.
Give me the Browns bounce back.
Did we get it? Was there a Lions game in there?
Together. Yeah, I said the Lions.
Who'd they play?
The Lions are Chargers.
Oh, yeah. Chargers
will easily pick the
Literally, the Lions are the definition
Drake.
of mediocrity in the NFL. So it's
Sorry, Drake. All right, we're going to send it over to Drake now in a minute so he can give you his last-minute take on our conversation. But this is all for us tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please join us 2 Wednesdays from now, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
All right. Thank you, Brandon, Justin, and Jacob, the dynamic trio that just took on the NFL's topics, even though I believe they're a little bit wrong on those Lions predictions. That's all we have for this week, but I'd want to thank each and every one of you guys that tuned in to listen to our broadcast. This is the conclusion of the first official BC Voice broadcast, and if you want some more, 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, September 25th, starting at the same time, 7 o'clock, be sure to tune in. And everybody have a beautiful week.